Hello ladies and gentlemen, Big Daddy Top Hat here. Over the course of the last few years on this channel, we have taken in-depth individual looks at every official Double Dragon video game that has ever seen release. From Yoshihisa Kishimoto's 1987 original that set the blueprint for the beat-em-up genre, right through to the 2017 NES-inspired nostalgia-driven creation that was Double Dragon 4 for modern hardware. Now that gargantuan amount of games is out of the way, it's time to begin looking at Double Dragon games that have been created by fans. Starting off with a title that on the surface may seem completely absurd, but with some mild analysis perhaps makes more sense than any other passion project that I have covered in the past on here. Yes, your eyes are not deceiving you, somebody took some of the roster of the WWF Superstars arcade game and placed them in a custom-made Double Dragon title. Join me today as we explore the existence of this exciting entry, what it contains, why it exists, and what exactly it does manage to bring to the table. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the story of Double Dragon Reloaded Alternate, the Double Dragon WWF game. Yeah! But first, a quick thank you to G-Tracing, who reached out to me and gifted me a new office/gaming chair. Bearing in mind I spend my whole working week chair-bound, I jumped at the generous opportunity to add comfort to my workload. Their chairs feature ergonomic designs, are multifunctional in purpose, and are all made from high-quality material, resulting in great stability and mobility. Thanks for keeping me more comfortable during long sessions of gaming or working. There is a link in my description for anyone who wants to check out G-Tracing's product range. Now back to my main content. The 1980s is a nostalgic period that is often reflected back on in a very positive manner. And I guess why on earth not, when gaming and pop culture in general brought so many interesting creations to the forefront. This would of course include the birth of the cooperative beat-em-up genre, with Kishimoto's Double Dragon game, paving the way for the many games of this playstyle that would come in the future. The fact that not one but two players could enjoy these games simultaneously would mean double the profits for the developers, publishers and arcade vendors alike. Speaking of the 1980s, professional wrestling would experience a massive boom period. The World Wrestling Federation would help create a golden era for the entertainment medium, with Vince McMahon's promotion being broadcast across America through new national satellite broadcasts. Huge events such as WrestleMania would mix stars of wrestling with pop culture and sporting icons, which would help establish professional wrestlers as nationwide household names. This would of course lead to toys, merchandise and video games, including the promotion's first arcade game, known as WWF Superstars, a 1989 coin muncher that would include addictive intuitive combat and beautiful cartoonish depictions of many wrestling fans' favourites from television. Those with a keen eye may be able to note that graphically and stylistically, Superstars and Double Dragon both look very similar, which upon further inspection is no coincidence, as both of these classics were developed by Technos Japan under the directorial leadership of Yoshihisa Kishimoto. I guess in a way, Superstars could even be viewed as a Double Dragon wrestling game, which is why it makes so much natural sense for somebody to place these wrestling icons within a Double Dragon game many decades on. These sprites look like they are designed to bloody be together. Fast forward to the terrifying futuristic era of modern gaming, and as covered on this channel many times before, passionate fans are using the free-to-use OpenBOR program to create dream beat-em-ups, often inspired by their favourite games of old. The world of Double Dragon games is no exception to this, as there are multiple highly interesting fan projects featuring Bimmy and Jimmy that are worth a look at. But as mentioned in today's video, we are only interested in one fan game. Well, kind of anyway, as before we got Double Dragon Reloaded Alternate, that contains old school WWF Superstars, we simply had Double Dragon Reloaded, the original iteration of the project inspired by Yoshihisa Kishimoto's beat-em-up work. Double Dragon Reloaded was created by an internet user and forum poster who goes by the alias of Magas, who would set out to create a Double Dragon game that would be a combined remake of both Double Dragon 1 and 2, which would be programmed to include custom stages, extra weapons, and even moves that were featured in the more refined Game Boy Advance game known as Double Dragon Advance. Such an effort was an interesting step in the right direction, as the original Double Dragon game from 1987 is plagued with issues that make it less desirable to play than the majority of modern beat-em-ups. Most notably, the ridiculous level of slowdown the original game contains when being controlled in co-op. You know, the actual double part that the entire title was marketed around. In fact, retreading history, Yoshihisa Kishimoto looked to correct his mistakes in the following year of 1988 by re-releasing the game with more refined features, with the slowdown issues fixed. However, while this may have been the original intention, the project would instead morph into a full-blown sequel, resulting in Double Dragon 2 The Revenge, the very title that was so impressive that it would inspire Capcom to create Final Fight, and Sega to create Golden Axe. The beat-em-up's golden era had officially arrived. Combining both of these iconic games into one not only allows players to experience the magnificent design of Double Dragon 2, but also allows for a more refined revisit of Bimmy and Jimmy to their first outing too. Being a combo of both classics, the title is twice the length of either official arcade entries that saw release, with the addition of new backgrounds, even longer stages, extra weapons, and an assortment of enemies from both video games. The OpenBOR title offered up an experience that was dripping with 80s arcade nostalgia. However, like with many OpenBOR games, years of refinement would slowly take place, that would eventually lead to the game gradually morphing into something that was even more impressive, which is where Double Dragon Reloaded Alternate comes into the fold. The alternate version of Reloaded would go as far as to include everything that was packed into the original version of this fan project, but adds a ton of new features, such as an arrangement of wrestling legends along with 5 different game modes, offering up the greatest and most ridiculous Double Dragon Reloaded experience available yet. While the sprite work of the WWF wrestlers for the game indeed do look very similar to what can be found within Superstars, upon further inspection it is easy to identify that each wrestler's sprite work appears to be completely custom for this game, bringing to the table a roster of playable characters within the double figures range, including Bimmy and Jimmy, WWF Superstars, and characters who previously only appeared as enemies within the original Double Dragon arcade games. As one would hope for, the WWF wrestlers can perform many of their signature moves and poses, which they are known for within the cartoon world of professional wrestling. Which I guess for a Bobo begs the question, what you gonna do when Hulkamania runs wild on you, brother? The main modes of play for this title consists of an arcade mode and an arranged mode, both of which are ludicrous sights to behold when playing as the likes of the Ultimate Warrior, destroying opponents with the likes of gorilla presses and clotheslines. No opponent has the pedigree in this game to match the Ultimate Warrior. The game would be modded further to create the even crazier Double Dragon Reloaded Bootleg, a mod of a fan project that includes 4-player cooperative play, that crazily allows for up to 4 players to tear through the apocalyptic world of Double Dragon as a whole team of iconic wrestlers from the legendary rock and wrestling era. In the 80s we have WWF Superstars and the original arcade Double Dragon games, but these days we can get together with 3 friends to play Double Dragon as our favourite superstars of the past. What a crazy world we now live in, but I am grateful for some of this insanity nonetheless. This whole thing is ridiculously epic, offering up perhaps the most 80s themed concept for a video game that has ever been concocted. This game is absolute macho madness, and I am glad to see that it exists in all of its 16:9 4-player glory. Double Dragon crossed with old school WWF is like the unstoppable force meeting the immovable object, a love letter to some of Yoshihisa Kishimoto's finest work, and I am more than pleased that this has been created. While on the subject of crazy Double Dragon World Wrestling Federation action, certain versions of the game include all sorts of crazed wrestling-centric fun, such as on the classic Double Dragon Farm stage for example, which includes the mission starting off with a boss version of Andre the Giant kicking over a motorcycle, which sees the players in hot pursuit of this giant spandex-clad criminal. Players must also do battle with other famous WWF foe, such as the greatest intercontinental champion of all time, the Honky Tonk Man, or everyone's favourite exerciser of police brutality, the Big Boss Man. When players catch up with Andre the Giant, players must face off against him in the classic WWF Superstars ring alongside his tag team partner from the late 80s, Ted DiBiase. Everyone has a price for the $1 Million Man. If I could use just a few words to summarise Double Dragon Reloaded up with its alternative versions, it would simply be the cream of the crop. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was the story of Double Dragon Reloaded Alternate, an amazing Double Dragon fan project that features roster members from the World Wrestling Federation. How bloody cool was that? If you want to learn more about Double Dragon history, as I highlighted earlier in the video, I have done deep dive videos on every single official Double Dragon game that has been released over the years. In fact, if you want to experience more of Yoshihisa Kishimoto's work in documentary form, I've also covered WWF Superstars and even the game's sequel, WWF WrestleFest. There is plenty of content related to this subject for you to look up. Now, what I would like to do is give a huge thank you to everybody who backs this channel via Patreon. You can see their names scrolling in the credits right now. And one final thing I would like to do is answer one Patreon related question. So patron, long-term patron, Chad Bonin, which is an amazing name I may add, asks me, I've got to open it on my bloody phone, I'm terrible with phones. It says, as your UK base, what's something that was released in the North American region you're envious of? Likewise for Asia. Okay, I can answer that question really easily. We was always deprived in this country back in the day of Japanese role-playing games, and I didn't even know how great these were until they basically started releasing them here. I was introduced to the genre via the likes of Pokemon Red and Blue and Final Fantasy VII, but obviously in stateside you had stuff like Final Fantasy VI, which I think you had as Final Fantasy III, Earthbound, Chrono Trigger, and all of these fantastic games what we missed out on and I didn't get to play until I was an adult. Mario RPG, just another game which we never had over here, and I guess likewise it goes for the same for Japan itself, who have even more JRPGs than that of America. In fact, they're still releasing games over there what haven't been released here or in America, such as Yokai Watch 4 for example, which I'm desperate to play in English. However, the game doesn't exist, which is very sad that we're still putting up with this problem in 2021. As Daffy Duck would say, it's despicable. But at least here in Europe we got Terranigma, which you didn't get in America. Yeah. And we got Fireman too. Not an RPG, but a fantastic game. What you Americans didn't get. Yeah. See you soon.